We are working to achieve a world where your zip code doesn't determine your destiny.
And we're back, y'all. Blacklights Podcast, live on air. I'm here. We got a special episode for you all today. And a special guest, we have the CEO of Industry Education and co-founder of Seed, Miss Jessica Smith. What's up, girlfriend?
What's up? Hey. Glad to be with both of you all. Such a treat.
Dope. We're happy to have you too. So kicking it right off, again, we like to really start our conversations with all of our guests, really understanding truly your journey, right? Because as a woman of color, you're doing big things. And I know we all know personally and get to see it, but not everybody gets to understand. So take us back really through your journey and then how you even just got started to the, being the co-founder of the Seed program. Like you see Seed everywhere.
Thank you, Lashae. I really love listening to the backstory episodes for each of y'all, and you took it back to childhood, and I loved hearing that. So I'm gonna do the same. And when I think about where my story began, it actually started in a two-stoplight town, to a family of self-taught entrepreneurs, lots of women who stayed home, but my grandparents were innovators. They had a 200-acre ranch, and my grandmother owned a small gift boutique in town. And while my Portuguese grandfather and I don't look the same, behind us and inside of us, I learned, you talked about being raised by a man, and there is something special about standing next to a confident, kind-hearted hustler as you're growing up. And so I got a lot of my values from that. Fast forward, my father actually is a coach and made his way into education, and so that paved the way for me to be a first-generation college student. Found my way in Chocolate City, D.C., at Georgetown, and but as a first-generation college student, I knew nothing about how to navigate that space. I didn't know there was a career center, but what I did fall in love with is education. I spent my time in Head Start, low-income preschools as an AmeriCorps member. And then in the Georgetown classrooms, I was learning about social justice, African American studies, and the real story behind our America and our community. And there was a statistic that just hit me during that time, which was a lot of times your zip code can determine your destiny.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And as a 17-year-old fired up, I was like, absolutely not. This is not the America that I'm going to accept. And so you will see in the IE brand manifesto, which kind of comes from my own personal manifesto, that we are working to achieve a world where your zip code doesn't determine your destiny, and where education is a tool to dismantle inequitable systems. And so that's been my full career journey. I have worked at the intersection of education and our industry, the sports industry, for 16 plus years now. I started in higher education, working on leadership development, corporate partnerships, really trying to bring an equity lens for people that look like us in terms of how do you transform your dreams into a meaningful career, but also a meaningful life. And so I worked in the higher education system for 6 years. And then I made my way over to Nike, leading North America early career programs. So think internship, rotational programs, university partnerships. And at that time, I, was starting to get a little itch. And so I made my way over to Adidas, spent some time running their global early career programs. And when I started, I knew that I was wanting to disrupt. And but I'll tell that story a little bit later. But that's high level my journey and my story.
That's awesome.
I mean, I think it's I know a lot about Seed, but then understanding your journey and how you attach to Seed makes a complete sense to me. I've been rock and rolling with Seed for a long time, probably longer than you even know. But what is Seed?
I know he's got the originals, our first release. I know. That was a moment.
And it was, and they delivered these sneakers to me in the freezing cold in New York. Because there wasn't any budget for shipping. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. But, that just shows the level of determination to get things done.
Definitely.
But I know what it is. But what is the Seed program and what's some of its goals?
SEED stands for School for Experiential Education and Design. And the mission of SEED is to cultivate next generation talent to drive culturally resonant product creation for sport and street.
Got it.
And when I talk about next generation talent, I really mean ready now, top diverse talent.
Right.
We'll get into this later, but that's not an easy thing to find and to
course.
cultivate, which y'all are on that mission
For sure.
as well. And so the way that we at Seed and Adidas do that is through really building diverse design teams, knowing that diversity drives innovation. So it's not just a nice to have, it really drives the bottom line.
Right.
The other way we do that is through the talent incubator. So Seed serves as an alternative to higher education.
Right.
You'll get to meet one of our generation alum, Deannelys, here in a little bit. And, you know, her pathway to what she is now was blocked because of lack of access to higher education. And so you see a Deannelys now, and you see a Comiskey and a Deja, and there is no question if they have a spot in our industry. They are the future of our industry. But there wasn't a pathway for them that was accessible. So really making sure that they have the skills, the experience that they need to take their rightful seat at the table as a talent incubator is important. And then the last piece is partnership, which you alluded to through, you know, I'm sure Liz or Sharice trudging through the subway, delivering, you know, one of ones from the beginning, because we started with partnership.
Yep.
And the only way that we're able to achieve is through partnership.
No, it's amazing to see how much it's grown and the work that you guys continue to do, or I should say you ladies continue to do. Make sure my language is right.
Yes, get it right.
But I take my hat off to y'all.
Thank
Continue
you.
to do the great work.
Thank you.
Agreed. Great work. But there's always like a story, right?
Yeah.
Like we see it now, but
Yeah.
fill us in. Like, how did Seed even come about? Like, what's like the backstory in the beginning?
Dr. Dwayne always says that you know you're doing something right when you're scared. I thought I was going to get fired for like a couple, I thought I was going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because I knew we were really trying to disrupt. And so, rewind, I was with the brand inside for 6 years. And when I was interviewing for my first role, it was to build and lead the early career university partnerships team for the brand globally. The role hadn't existed, the team didn't exist. But I'd already been in this game for a while at that time. And leading early career programs and also working in colleges and universities, we were my teams were tasked with building the diversity pipeline for corporations. And I'm sitting there like, how are we supposed to build a diversity pipeline when the pipeline lacks diversity? So we were going into these classrooms. More and more brands were leaning on my team to source technical talent, designers, engineers, you know, computer engineers, etc. And in those classrooms, women were missing, people of color were missing, and I knew we had to try something different if we wanted a different result. But I'm new to a brand, and so it took a little time building relationships. And 2 to 3 years in, we'd been partnering with the team at the Brooklyn Creator Farm for a little while. So Mark Dolce, Dennis Dekovic, DJ Clark Kent, and, you know, they're innovators. And the farm was a space to grow and cultivate talent in a very disruptive way. And so it was like, this is our moment. These are our people. This is the time. And I feel like when you're not in design, like myself, you know, those are the people you go to when you want to disrupt and innovate. And so very quickly, I put a business case together, developed a bit of program design. I have my master's in education. I am certified as a teacher. And so I know a little bit about designing educational programs, put it in front of them, and they were like, let's go.
Let's do it.
So that was step one of whoever knows how many, but then it was taking that same pitch deck around to try to get funding for the program.
Finding the money.
Right. You talked about that budget in the beginning. It was kind of scrapped together. You know, pulled a little bit from here and there, enough to get started. A couple of other things that we did in the beginning was we pulled together an external board of advisors because we knew we needed credibility and advocacy from the beginning. And so Dwayne was on that board, Jay May was on that board, Angela Medlin was on that board, DJ Clark Kent. Sharice was supposed to be on the board, but as soon as we met her, I was like, oh, no. We got another job for you. She was not trying to leave Florida. So those were some of the early steps. And then one of the funniest stories about the backstory is, it's really hard. We did all of this in 6 months, which is relatively short period of time. From business plan to launch, 6 months. And so it's kind of hard to get stuff put out on the website in a corporate entity for a fast time. So I was like, how could we really get this out there? Somehow I found my way backstage at Mic Check with Pharrell, pitching him the concept. He said yes. It went live on his Instagram. And Deannelys will tell you, like, when they were trying to get their parents to be like, let me do this thing, like, they had to pull up Pharrell's IG to be like, I promise you, it's real.
This is real. It's a real thing.
This is real.
For real.
So that's the backstory. We launched in January 2020, a couple of weeks before the pandemic, and really proud to say we're still standing.
That's it's every time I hear the story, it just sounds better every time.
Thank you.
You're in the industry now, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm always curious, like, how exactly are you reshaping the industry with this program?
Yeah. There is a talent crisis.
Absolutely.
100%. And my last role at Adidas was actually head of strategy for Adidas basketball, which was starting the transformation that we see now. Moving the team from Portland to LA, signing the partnership with Jerry Lorenzo. And so we were tasked with building new teams and design teams. And that full 2 years I was in that role, the fill rate of our design team was painful. Like, you ask any of our designers, they're carrying heavy loads. Because where do you find ready now, culturally resonant, designers? And so, when you look at Seed essentially is a design apprenticeship.
Right.
And I think it's successful because of two things. One, it's building talent in the industry and in the brand. Right. So that time to readiness is shortened because they're already, familiar with the space. And then the second part of it is with industry education, i.e. we are the curriculum partner and facilitation vehicle to teach the Seed student designers in year one. And because of that, we're nimble, we're agile, we can adapt and respond. When we see that there are new capabilities that are needed, we can pivot. One of the things that I'll cite, you'll meet here BFF this week, Allie Simon, who leads Black Being, and we partnered with her this year because we saw there's also a generational divide in the workplace like we've never seen before. I don't know if you all have seen some of the millennial manager videos trying to figure out how to connect with and understand Gen Z. It's hilarious. Corporate Natalie, I recommend you check her out. It's hilarious. But what I started to realize is that we millennials, we're used to being led in a way that the next generation doesn't work for them. We saw the Great Resignation, right? And so how do we train but also retain talent in our space is really important. So one of the pieces that we brought to this current generation is wellness, personal wellness and team wellness. For, young folks, it's who are you and how do you navigate this space and show up authentically but also successfully in a corporate space, some of which you identify with and some of which you don't. And then from a team wellness, how do we bridge that generational divide and gap? And so those are some of the teachings. I know you have a background in life skills, and so you understand the value. But that's some of the work that we do to make sure that our talent isn't successful just to land their first role, but to navigate a really long and successful career.
Yeah, get to know themselves first, right?
Yeah.
So then you can actually show up as your best version of yourself to do the work. So.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. And even, you noted some of the fantastic designers that you have, but you specifically focus on women of color in reference to designers as well. And so just curious as far as like, how important is that to have women of color in the design space as we even, like now, presently, but then also as we look into the future?
You might recall that the team that we partnered with to launch this was all men, all male designers. And so it definitely was a conversation. But when I speak of that external board, Dwayne, I think, championed this unofficial statistic. But back when we started 5 years ago, there was this, buzz around you could count all of the Black female footwear designers on two hands across the entire industry. Fast forward, whether that's true or not, fast forward 4 years and we've doubled that with just Seed alone.
Just your program.
And so that's impact. Now, I wanted to make sure I run a business, and I want to make sure that it's built on research and stats. And so my team also did some digging to validate why women and why women of color. We looked at census data and we looked at demographic data to look at population representation. And we wanted to compare that to, okay, who is in the industry and who actually is underrepresented? Women, definitely. And as we define BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, Black people make up 15% of the population and only 4% of the design community. Native individuals make up 1% of the population, make up 0.1% of the design community. And then when we look at the Latinx community, 16% of our population and only 6% of the design community. And so we wanted to lead with who was most underrepresented, and the data just showed that that was women and women of color. So we're going to continue to work on that until we have representation.
I love that. So dope.
I mean, it's crazy, the numbers, like you would not know. Unless you just shared that, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Right? And I'm around it every day.
We see it.
And I'm still like, oh, wow, is that low?
Yeah.
Now, let's get into the creases a little bit. Like, how is Seed actually preparing these women to help shape what it's going to look like next?
Yeah. So in terms of how the program functions, in year one, it really is and it's been iterative over time, so each generation gets a little bit more, but in its current state, we've created about 15 design and leadership modules that serve as master classes. And so year one, they really get to focus on what are those tangible skills, and we have to do it fast. We have a year. So instead of what happens in 4 years, we have in one.
Wow.
But what I will say, when we think about, we have to make choices and decide what are the most critical experiences to teach now to get them started. We look at digital transformation and new technologies, and there's such a push on that. But one of the things that we're really disciplined on, and Nelly will talk to you about that, is the design process.
Got it.
We want every designer to walk away with their design process.
Got it.
Not only do we want to actually introduce them to new software and technologies as well, but I spend time in the education space, and there is a hearkening back to traditional. So you start to see education institutions at the forefront teaching things, doing original research in the library, making sure that people are reading books. We see our tech experts actually sending their kids to schools in the forest and not letting them have technology do for a while. And so there's this piece around, we need you to hone your process. We need you to have the actual skills that are necessary so that when the pace is happening quickly and new technologies are introduced, you can introduce. And I will say, we fight with our team because they're like, just let me 3D and use AI and get to...
Let's cheat the process.
And I got to give a shout out to Sharice Thornhill-Goldson because, and some of our facilitators and instructors who are like, we need to preserve the foundation and also teach for next. And and we see that. We see Seed. I love the name in so many ways, but our alumni are seeds. They are going out into the brand and they are showing a new way. For example, consumer research is something that we in storytelling are two things that we hone on. And so Nelly has a great example of how someone caught wind of a presentation, and next thing you know, she was giving a one-of-one experience in the brand. And so we really want to give them a process that they can stand on now and over time.
Yeah. I really love what you just said as far as just even our responsibility to teach for next. So just speaking of the next in the future, like, what do you want to see, or how will Seed really contribute to the future?
I really love that question. I want to give a shout out to Adidas because when we look back to 2020 and what happened in 2020, we know that some of those dollars have dried up.
Oh, for sure.
We know that DEI is under fire legally and just, corporate ways of working. And so to be able to invest in something for 5 years really is a testament to the brand, for sure. So I think that's big. The reason I started IE is because we can't rely on one brand. And we need the industry to really sign up to invest in real ways in cultivating the next generation of talent. we have a finite number of spaces that we can bring people into the program and graduate from the program, because we want to see them get jobs afterwards, not just give them a certificate and put them back in the marketplace struggling the same way they were before they came to the program. And so, we really, how I see the future is, a network and a collective, which shout out to PLC and Pencil and the work that you all do that sometimes nobody else is able to bring a collective in our industry together, to put dollars and roles on the line, and to give people a chance. And, when I first met Nelly, beautiful human, and we saw the potential. But if it wasn't the seed team and the external board, they might not have given her a shot, because she didn't have the portfolio already. She didn't get to go to her dream design school. And so that's the future. The future is a partnership and a collective of individuals who are looking to invest in this model in this way.
Yeah, I feel like this is just a piggyback question, because I'm curious, like, what's the evolution of it? Like, what does it look like to you? Short term, middle term, long term, like, how do you envision it evolving? Because that's big too, right?
Some of these are secrets, but
Okay.
I'm going to give us a little bit. I love to prototype and test. We love to prototype and test, proof, concept, scale. We've started with design. We've always had a vision to bring that to creation. What about our developers? What about our product managers? We sit in, one city in North America. What does it look like to service the globe, right? And, when I think about pipelining ready now diverse talent, when we look at a lot of our corporate spaces and our headquarters, who graduates from our seed team? If we would have just met them and said, hey, come work in Herzegovina, Germany, or Portland, Oregon from Brooklyn, that might not happen. But come hang with us in LA, get to know this culture, really fall in love with the brand, and see what you can do. And so I think just growth and expansion to other disciplines and other cities and countries is really the vision.
Yeah, it's so important, because it can't all live in one space. You have to diversify. We had this conversation yesterday at a meeting, and it's like, even we're at the Black Footwear Forum, footwear, there's so many vessels and lanes that people aren't aware of that we need to disrupt as well.
Definitely.
So
and I think the pipeline is going to help with that, as far as one of the conversations we were having is just as far as you come here and you're seeing, you'll see maybe sales, marketing, and design, right? But when we talk about our industry as a whole, right, and just representation, you talk about finance, logistics, like there's all this that honestly we have a responsibility. And if we can start to figure out, what you even just said, test, and then how do we make this like at a scale it, right? And then in different areas, like we're gonna have so much power as we look ahead.
Definitely.
I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And it's more because, like, I feel like people are gonna listen to this, and there's somebody interested in seed now that may be nervous to apply. Right? Because it's like, oh my God, Adidas, all these things. What advice would you give to that person who may not press enter?
You just teed up our next guest.
Yes.
Because yesterday, actually, Nelly, a couple of the other alumni, and myself, we spent time in 2 high schools here in Detroit. We were at Cass Tech. We are at Detroit School of the Arts. And, meet a variety of students who might be a little bit shy, might be a little bit reserved. And so I'm going to save that answer because Nelly had some really good advice around that. But I hope that you see in our alumni yourself.
Got it.
And that's why representation matters. And so, a couple of things. We do follow us on IG for sure. You'll see who has come before and hopefully resonate with their stories. On YouTube, Adidas Community also helped. Sharice and I curated a curriculum. It's a mini version of the SEED program, and we teach you the design process. And so, build your skill sets a little bit, but come as you are, because you'll be surprised how ready you are and what you have.
Yeah.
Any final words before we introduce Nelly? Like just that you would want to leave the viewers with, as far as just, you always drop enough gems, but just anything that you would want to leave the viewers with today.
BFF really does feel like homecoming, in so many ways. I wish we could have this feeling all the time in our spaces. And that's what cultivating the next generation of talent is.
Right.
It's really looking to make the teams feel representative, diverse, innovative. And when I look at our alumni, none of us question if they deserve a seat at the table. And so I think for those who are in positions to drive change, it's just, we get tired too. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to fight change systems. But when it's moments like these and standing alongside partners like yourself, or when I look at alumni, it's really take the courage to take a risk that I would leave people with. And the fight is really worth it when you see the impact, even if it's just one, even just if it's just 10, even if it takes 10 years. You know, whatever's placed inside of you, that fire, that dream, that unique one-of-one vision, like, we're here as a community to support you, and keep going. But Deannelys Corcino is a special one. She started with Generation 1, and to know her is to love her. I can remember back, so the way that we recruit and select people is by doing design workshops. And I can remember back to December 2019 at the Brooklyn Creator Farm, where I met Nelly for the first time. And a creative to the core, ideas that no one else would think of, passion that is just contagious. I told her yesterday when we were at the high schools, I said, "You're a high school whisperer." She didn't really know what that phrase meant because she's not from the States. But she will sit there with people and really listen to them. Some of the best designers are those who have the biggest empathy, and she has a heart of gold. And her work ethic. J-May was her mentor during the creator camp. I think they stayed up all night because it was a 2-day camp. They pitched their ideas the second day. She was going to work until it was right. And I'm so proud of her, all she's achieved, and her future will continue to be bright. So I'm excited for you to get to talk to her and hear her story.
Excited to hear it too.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we can edit it out.
All right, so Miss Nelly, we are so happy to have you. I mean, that was like a wonderful introduction, right?
Yes,
almost. I know, like super dope. But like honestly, like I mean, if we're telling stories, I remember and can really attest to just truly like your passion and just your spirit when you walk into the room. You really can definitely tell that. You know, like you're just a force. And so it's really been good to be able, like we met 3 years ago, I believe, right? One of the first, I think it was the first BFF conference that we had in Detroit, and VIP dinner, and like super dope look. Like I was like, where is that? Where can I? She was like, oh girl, this is me. This is me. I designed this, and it's like super dope. But also just to be able to continue to like support you on your journey and watch you grow has been amazing. So just shout out to you. I'm excited for everyone to get to know you better. I know your story, but I will say, like honestly, I'm really excited for everyone else to get to know and see what we all see in you as well. So just to kick it off, because we are talking here about Seed and just your journey in general, how did you even come about? Like, how did you get involved in Seed, and like, what were you doing beforehand?
Okay, where do I start? I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and who I am. So I grew up in the Dominican Republic for majority of my childhood. Spanish is my first language. And I grew up in a neighborhood where there was not a lot of kids around. And I was not fortunate enough to go to school. Because in the Dominican Republic, at least during that time, you had to pay for school. And we couldn't really afford it much. So I spent a lot of free time just drawing. I would take rocks and just draw in the street, little napkins I would draw. That was just the way for me to pass time, because I couldn't understand why other kids were going to school and I wasn't. I just thought I had like a really, really, really long summer break. And I didn't question it. I didn't. I was just like, okay, I mean, this is how life goes. And then my mom was able to bring me back to the U.S. And I went to a middle school in Brooklyn for a couple of years. And while I was there, I was constantly sketching, trying to avoid people because I didn't know English.
Yeah.
And drawing was the only way that I felt like everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
So one day she saw my sketches and she was like, Nelly, and a lot of people call me Nelly, but my name is Deannelys. So the teacher, she was like, you need to do fashion design. This is your thing. I mean, you're drawing all these dolls with the clothes. Like, this is amazing. And I was like, wait, fashion design? What is that? One, because she was speaking to me in English, and I was like, yes, half of the things that you're saying, I'm not understanding.
Not picking up. Yeah.
But she was like, wait. She was my English teacher. And she showed me a fashion show. And when she showed me that YouTube video of a runway show, I was like, wow. This is amazing. Like, wow. I want to be part of this. I could. Yes, like, why didn't I think about that? The things that I have on my body, somebody took the time to create them.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I moved to the Bronx with my mom, and then I applied to go to high school fashion industry. And that school was almost 2 hours in the train every morning to try to make it to Manhattan. But I was determined because if you know a little bit about the Bronx, it's tough out there. There's not a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely.
There's not any like specialized high schools. There's a lot of crime and there's a lot of poverty. And I knew that I wanted more, not just for me, but for my family, my mom and my 2 siblings.
Yeah.
And I tell myself I need to go out there and chase my dreams. So that's what I did. I took the 2-hour train ride every morning, went to high school fashion industry, and every single opportunity that was posted in the school board or in the email blast, I would take it. Yes, I want to join that.
Yeah.
Yes, I will stay later. Yes, I will fix that shirt for you. Yes, I would organize your desk. Whatever that will come, I will always try to do it.
Yeah.
And the more I would do that, the more direct opportunities I will get. That's when I first got introduced to Adidas. Adidas will come and do focus groups. So I would join them and give them feedback. I designed a dress for Kleinfeld, which is a bridal company, and won first place. I was able to do collaborations with different news, entertainment platforms that were connecting to our school. I was able to collaborate with so many different people and collaborate with so many different brands that when I left the school, and let me not skip one part, right my senior year, I had been so busy and hustling so much to try to build my portfolio and try to build an opportunity for myself that I didn't really think about or had the conversation about college. So when senior year came, I was like, wait a minute, like, what's
going?
next?
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah.
My mom didn't even finish high school. So that was not even like a conversation that we were having at home. And I was like, okay, well, I asked my teacher, so what's the next stage? She's like, well, you can go to college and get a fashion degree, and then they will have a fashion show there, and it's just going to be amazing.
Right.
But we didn't talk about the money part. So I applied to the school, met with the school, everything went great, until they were like, hey, but this is how much you have to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
And you cannot enter the classroom unless you pay that. Yeah. And my mom was like, girl, we can do this. So that was a super harsh reality for me because creating has always been one of my reasons to live, because I feel like I'm able to project who I am and put out a message out there that I want to. It's like a form of communication for me with the universe. And not being able to continue that through school was super hard. So I told my mom, okay, well, there's stuff that needs to be bought in the house. I could save up. I was trying to put a smile on my face even though I was really crushed inside.
Yeah.
So I had
working? Like,
girl, I had like 3 retail jobs. I was doing visual merchandising. In the morning. I was doing 1 retail job in the early afternoon, and I was doing all-nighters in another place.
Oh my goodness.
So almost no sleep.
Yeah.
And I don't recommend it to anybody. Just because I was trying to raise as much money as I could to be able to afford my dream. That was going to a school so I can become a fashion designer. And then one day while I was doing one of those retail jobs, one of my teachers from high school, a mentor of mine, hit me up and she's like, hey, there's a program out there that Adidas is putting together and I think it will be perfect for it. I don't have much information. I just have, an email, a date, and I know it's about footwear, and I know we haven't done any footwear at the high school, but I think it would be great for it. And I was like, yes, of course. Like, of course I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna do it. So I went all the way to Brooklyn, and once I got there, I went to the Creator Farm and got introduced to the seed program, and I was like, yeah, I gotta make it happen.
Wow.
Sorry for
but it was good. And they need to hear it too, because shout out to you for I know you said you wouldn't recommend, but just to know that sometimes for your dream there's sacrifices, right? Oh, yeah. And so shout out to you for even like just hustling the way that you have to be able to even create those opportunities for yourself.
It's amazing, your story and how you pivoted and figured it out, and then you got crushed and figured it out again. Like, I take my hat off to you for continuing to go. Things have changed in the industry so much, some of it because of seed, right? What does it mean to you to have representation in the footwear industry, especially as a woman of color?
Everything. It's honestly everything, because when I was in the seed program, I truly felt like I had a sisterhood that understood me. I always been a person that I want to strive for better, and to have sisters that want that for themselves and their family. System,
for sure.
That was amazing. I moved to Portland, Oregon, which is not diverse at all.
It's not the Bronx.
And being the only female of color in my team, Adidas, showed me that it's not about just having a seat at the table. It's also about being able to feel like you belong. Because you can be in a room and feel like you don't belong.
Easily.
And that will trigger your confidence.
It's actually worse.
Yes. So I think it's extremely important. It's not enough with just having one of us in the table. We should have multiple of us there.
Absolutely.
So
how would you say, as far as like, because we know you're a part of the seed program, how do you feel the seed program has prepared you to be successful in this industry?
Oh, they give me the whole toolbox. Yes, they did, because you already come to the seed program with a passion, a dream, and an idea of what you want to create in the world, but you don't have the technical skills that you need to make sure that idea comes all the way to fruition. So they take the time to show you that you need soft skills and hard skills. You need, the little things like Adobe Illustrator. Take the time to understand that platform so you can visualize your idea to perfection. Take the time to understand your design process. A lot of people go straight into paper. I realized that I enjoy creating the thing physically first, and then bringing it into a digital platform. I love cutting things together. I love, coming up with a prototype, because while I'm creating that, I come up with new ideas during the process. So yeah, they help you also organize, learning how to organize, learning how to speak, learning how to be in this environment where not a lot of people are going to have your same point of view, and how can you navigate those conversations. So yeah, they hook you up. Yeah.
Any words of advice for, you had an amazing story, but there's somebody who's nervous or they don't think they can do it. Any words of wisdom or advice you'd give to somebody who's trying to get into the industry?
I will say, if you have a dream, if you have an idea, if you have a thought even, let's utilize the resources that we have available to us, like the internet, for what it can help to bring those ideas to life. Because many times we feel like we have to wait into a door for it to be open, for you can create, and you can open that door yourself. There's so many resources out there, but I feel like sometimes we underutilize the internet for the wrong things. Like, please, you have control of your destiny, and know that if you really want something really bad, where there's a will, there is a way. And don't be afraid to speak up and tell somebody your idea. I know sometimes you feel like, oh, they will take it. No. Don't even think like that. Just think that that person may introduce you to something that will get you closer there. Because like I said, where there's a will, there is a way.
There's a way, for sure.
Yeah, those are my biggest advice.
So I got to talk about this outfit, honey, because you stay fly. You stay fly.
Thank
so,
you.
I mean, and you really do. You have a distinct look and style. So, one, like, where do you get your inspiration from, whether it's for your own personal fashion, but then also to design into?
The world around me.
Yeah.
The world around me, the stories that I'm trying to tell, and my emotions. I feel like every day when I wake up and I put an outfit on, I never wait for, I never save an outfit for tomorrow, because you never know, what can happen. So I always try to use fashion as a universal language to show the world who I am. I'm a mixture of everything, and I want to make sure that anytime I put an outfit on, it feels like me. And I do that for my clients as well too, because aside from doing apparel and footwear design, I'm also a stylist. Right. And a lot of my clients, I take the time to understand who they are and why they want to portray out there. Why is it that they want to say with every look? And that helps for the look to feel intentional and to feel unique, because we are all different human beings. And if you take the time to dress like yourself, you're not going to look like anybody else.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, think about that. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
I'm here to deliver it.
Yeah, that's dope. I mean, my last question, you've done a lot of great work, and I can tell you're going to continue to grow and do more work. The Nelly 5-10 years from now, making yourself uncomfortable, what would you like to see yourself be doing? Or do you even know?
I definitely want to drop some independent things.
Okay.
Yeah, some independent designs. I want to branch out a little bit. I do accessories on my own as well,
Got
too.
you.
So I would love to share that with the world. I would love to spend my styling. I do enjoy those one-on-one sessions that I have to be able to help somebody, project who they are.
Yeah.
Look fresh, right?
Yeah.
But just creating overall, I truly love what I do.
Yeah.
So I just hope that I can keep continuing the great work.
Yeah, no, continue for sure, because it comes out in your energy.
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely.
For sure.
And shout out to Dominican Republic, you know what I'm saying? And just, because representation matters, you know what I mean?
No,
and you continue to represent, and we appreciate you for that.
Yes, just yesterday during one of our creator camps that we did, one of the girls came to me and she was like, oh my God, like, it's so nice to see somebody like Hispanic. Like me. And I was like, wow, I appreciate it. Because, we all need to see each other.
Yes.
We all do. It's about time.
Yes,
for sure,
it's about time.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you for being on here.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode, y'all. We really shout out to Adidas, the Seed Program. Again, we really appreciate having both Jessica and you, Nelly, on the podcast today, and you'll see us next time.
Peace.